Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Baseball Paradise podcast with your boy, Master Dami. And I told you guys we're going to do top 10s. And the first one we're doing, I'm trying to do it in a way where we kind of get like I don't want to say bad positions, but like the positions where it's kind of like obvious who's in the top five, top 10 kind of thing, to where like the positions where the top 10 is kind of like everyone's top 10s are really different. So like we're starting off with catchers, um, and then probably relievers, and then so on. And then the last one's gonna be shortstops because I feel like right now it's like shortstops is like the best it's been like probably ever in baseball. So first we're starting off with catchers, and we'll go from 10 all the way up to number one, right? Um, got some stats, a little bit of stats. Really, it's this catcher one. I feel like the top like two were pretty easy, and then like three through like five, maybe six, kind of like take your pick, and then after that, it's kind of just like whoever you think fits in, right? So, number 10, I'm putting Sean Murphy from the A's. Um, I mean, just because we haven't seen much of him, right? He had an okay year, right? It's really only his first year if you really think about it in the league. I mean, in the 60 games he batted 233 with 7 home runs and 14 RBI. So it's kind of like, like let's give him a full year or two to really see what he's made of. But I mean, out of all the catchers in the major leagues, to be number 10 out of 30, I would say that's pretty good. And then here, this is where it gets a little crazy. All right. I had a lot of trouble here. This 9, 8, 7, and I think some people might rip me for it. But at 9, I have James McCann. He was kind of split in time with Yasmani Grandal last year. But I mean, he did okay for playing half the year. Kind of, literally split time. He batted 289, 7 home runs, 15 RBIs. I mean, the year before that, when he was pretty much the starter, he wasn't bad. He's kind of hitting in that 270 range, 15-ish home runs, 50 to 60 RBIs, which is not bad for a catcher. Like if you can get a catcher that can hit over 270, that's pretty solid. So I have him at 9, and then at 8. I only have this guy at 8 just because he came off an injury, and like 60 games, I feel like it's hard to judge off 60 games because like as you'll see in like my top 5, why I have some of these guys in the top 5, but like 8, I have Salvador Perez, solid. He's getting older. I don't know if the production's gonna be the same going into 2021. 162 games, it's 100 more games, right? He's probably not going to catch a lot of it. I don't know what the Royals' plan are with Salvador, but I have him. I know he's coming off that big injury and then having like he had a pretty solid year for 60 games. So, yeah, I'm excited. I would put him at 8. I wouldn't think he's anything more. I don't think he's top 5 anymore. I mean, he used to be great defender. He was a great defender. Solid hitter. Back in the days when the Royals were making the push for the World Series and winning the World Series. So a lot of respect for Salvador Perez. But at this time, I put him at 8. And then at 7, I have Austin Nola. He's like kind of one of those guys too. I mean, he had a solid year, 60 game, and the year before that, he really didn't play much. So I'm curious to see how the 162 goes for him with the Padres. Stacked lineup, so I expect him to, I mean, have some pretty solid numbers. But I mean, overall solid. I don't know too much. I don't really know his defensive skills. But hitting wise, he's a pretty solid guy. I mean, like I said, we haven't really seen much from him, so it's like it's kind of hard. 60 games, like I said, it's like, it's kind of tough to judge guys. And at 6, I have Travis d'Arnaud. And let me stop you before you say anything. Travis d'Arnaud batted 321. 321 with 9 home runs and 34 RBIs. And the year before that, when he played for like the Mets and the Rays, he was with the Dodgers for a little bit, but I don't even think he played a game. He batted like 260, which is pretty solid. 16 home runs, 69 RBIs. Like, the guy's solid. He had a pretty good year this last year too with the Braves. So I think it's gonna be d'Arnaud number 6. Number 6, I think, is solid. I don't think he's a top 5 catcher. Right? I think there's 5 guys better than him. I mean, honestly, I would. A lot of people probably argue that Salvador Perez is probably number 6 ahead of those guys. And honestly, I wouldn't. I wouldn't hold it against anybody. I was just really crunching numbers and looking at it, kind of just, we'll see. And then our top 5. I feel like 3 through 5 really can go anywhere. At number 5, I have Will Smith from the Dodgers. He had a really good 60-game season, and kind of like Nola, kind of like Murphy. Like, we haven't really seen full season at catcher, so really but I feel like just the numbers that he produced in the 60-game season and then in the playoffs kind of like showed you that he's a pretty solid guy. That's why I didn't put him in the top 3. I know like a couple of lists had him in like the top 3 catchers, but like I feel like at number 5 is kind of where he sits at right now. Like, he can go up, maybe go down. He's kind of floating in that middle area, but like he can definitely be a top catcher, in the league. I hope so. For the Dodgers, that he is the guy. And then at 4, I think 4 is where I feel like people are gonna be like, "Yo, did you not just see this guy play last season?" Yeah, I did see the guy play, and I'm telling you, 60 games it's hard. All right, 60. Like, I just think about like high school. 30 games. Like, stats are a little bit inflated. Some of them are a bit like, if you go through a rough stretch, your numbers are gonna look bad, right? And that's what I feel that happened to the guy I have at 4, and that's Mitch Garver from the Twins. He batted 167. All right. But before that, he was a solid hitting catcher, playing on one of the better hitting lineups in the major leagues. I believe they had the most home runs in 2019, the last full 162 game season, right? So he was part of that. Like, the guy, he batted 273. I feel like that's where he's ranked, 260, 270 kind of guy. Like solid hitter. It's gonna hit like 20 plus in that like high teens to mid 20s home run range, and driving like 60 to 70, runs. That's where I have him. I know he had a terrible 60-game season, but like I said, you can if you had the stretch of games where you were just on it, your batting average is going to look a lot better than the guys that kind of struggled. Even if you come out the gate struggling, like, it's going to be kind of hard to get your average to come back up. Even if you picked it up at the end, right? And then at 3 from the Cubbies, Wilson Contreras. I feel like solid bat, solid defender, great arm, great arm. The only thing holding me back from him is just his hitting numbers. I don't know. I feel like you think of the Cubs, you don't think Wilson Contreras like putting up big numbers. You look more at Baez. You're looking more at Bryant, Rizzo, those kind of guys. And Wilson Contreras is kind of there, like in a way you feel like you expect a little bit more from him. But I would say he's the top 3 catcher, just defensively, and then offensively what he brings is pretty good, But definitely defensively, the guy's just so good, so good. And then at number 2, former Dodger, current White Sox, Yasmani Grandal, I have him there. The average, not the greatest lately, but the guy hits for power from both sides. Switch hitter, plays great defense. So I mean, he's one of those guys gonna drive. If you have him in that top of the lineup and he's playing almost every day, he's gonna drive 80, maybe even 90 runs in a season. He has that kind of, especially in that lineup now, that new lineup with Eloy and Jose Abreu and Robert and all the new guys. They have Tim Anderson in there now. I feel like Grandal in a full season is gonna put up big numbers. And then at number 1, who else? JT Realmuto, probably the best hitting catcher in the major leagues. Defensively, I mean, he's not bad, but he's hands down the best hitting catcher, I would say. I feel like Yasmani and JT can really flip the two right now, but I'd give the edge to JT after this last season. He had a really solid year and pretty consistent. He's playing every day, and I think Realmuto, right, is the favorite, and then some other catchers. I mean, that would you're probably thinking, oh, where's Posey? Where's who else would? Gary Sanchez. I didn't even think about Gary Sanchez, but I feel like, sorry, bud, Gary Sanchez for me defensively just didn't cut out. I mean, the potential is there, but the guy batted 147, and the year before that, it's 230. 186 in 2018, and it's just he's kind of just fell off this. I don't know what it is. Defensively, he's not the best. I don't know. It's hit or miss for him, and then I know I might get a little crap for that, but hey, I got my list, man. These guys have had solid years. These guys, I'm going into this year too. Just these. I feel like these are the guys, and I've no disrespect to Gary Sanchez, because I feel like Gary Sanchez is if he figures it out, it's just that dude is just a monster, But yeah, that's my top 10. Let me know what you think. Is Gary Sanchez a top 10 catcher right now? Is JT Realmuto the best catcher? Who would you have on this top 10 list? Who would you take off? And who would you have in there? Let me know what you think, whether you're in the comments on YouTube or on SoundCloud or Instagram, wherever you're following me on, man. Let me know what you guys think. That was my top 10 catchers. Baseball Paradise Podcast with Master Dami, presented by the Duck Duck Bros. Peace.